The Vorlac scientist stood in the Nemesis's conference room. His name was Keto, and he looked different from the military Vorlac they had seen before. He was smaller, with softer features, and all four eyes focused on Captain Taeho Kim. "I thank you for allowing me to come," said Keto, his words translated by the ship's computer. "Not all of my people agree with what our military has done." "You said you have information for us," said Taeho, "about this thing called the Devourer." Keto's eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture they hadn't seen before. "Yes, the Devourer is real, and it's coming, sooner than we thought." He placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic image of deep space, showing stars and systems laid out in a map. "The Devourer is not one thing," explained Keto. "It is many things, acting as one, a swarm of entities that moves through space, consuming everything in its path: stars, planets, life." "Like a plague," suggested Science Officer Nari. "More like hunger," said Keto. "Pure, endless hunger. It has followed us for generations, destroying world after world. We thought we had more time, but our latest readings show it's accelerating." He adjusted the hologram, showing the path of the Devourer. According to his data, it would reach Earth space within 5 years. "Why attack us?" asked Admiral Jihye. "If this threat is real, why not just ask for our help?" "Some wanted to," said Keto, "but our military leaders believed taking what they needed was faster than asking. They've done this before with other species. Take their best people, their technology, their resources. Use them to fight the Devourer or to help us escape it." "That's why you were collecting humans," said Taeho. "And others." "Yes," admitted Keto. "Your people have qualities we find interesting. Adaptability, creativity, things the Vorlac lost long ago." Taeho studied the alien carefully. "Can you prove any of this?" "I can," said Keto. He adjusted his device again. Now the hologram showed a distant star system. As they watched, something dark moved across it. Stars winked out one by one. "This was recorded by our Deep Space Observatory," said Keto. "The Devourer consuming the Lentari system. That was 6 months ago. It's moving faster now." The room was silent as everyone watched the recording. Whatever the Devourer was, it was real and it was terrifying. "If what you're saying is true," said Taeho slowly, "then we're wasting time fighting each other." "Yes," agreed Keto. "That's why I came. Some of us want to stop this war, to work together. It may be the only way any of us survive." The message from Supreme Commander Vorlac arrived an hour later. It seemed Keto's defection had not gone unnoticed. "Humans," said the commander, his face filling the main screen on the bridge. "Return our scientist immediately. He is a traitor and a liar." "He told us about the Devourer," replied Taeho. "Is that a lie?" The commander was silent for a moment. "No," he admitted finally. "But it is not your concern. The Devourer is our problem." "Not anymore," said Taeho. "Your attacks on our colonies made it our problem too. We want our people back, all of them." "Impossible," said the commander. "We need them." "For what?" demanded Taeho. "To run experiments on? To study like animals? That ends now. Return our people, and we can discuss working together against this common threat." The commander's small mouth tightened. "You destroyed 4 of our military installations, killed millions of our people, and now you want cooperation?" "You attacked us first," reminded Taeho. "But we can end this cycle now before more die on either side." After a long silence, the commander spoke again. "Meet me at these coordinates. Bring the traitor, we will talk." The transmission ended. "It's a trap," said Admiral Jihye immediately. "Probably," agreed Taeho. "But we're going anyway." The coordinates led to a neutral location between human and Vorlac space. When the Nemesis arrived, they found a small fleet of Vorlac ships waiting. Not enough to threaten the Nemesis, but enough to show they were serious. Negotiations were difficult. The Vorlak demanded to keep some human prisoners for their research. Taiho refused. The Vorlak wanted access to Earth's resources. Taiho offered limited sharing, not taking. Hours passed with little progress. Then the sensors alerted. "Captain," said Do-hyun from Tactical. "Something's coming. Something big." On the main screen they saw it. A darkness moving against the stars approaching the system's edge. It seemed to bend the light around it, a writhing mass of something. Not solid, not gas, but something else. "The Devourer," whispered Kito. "It's here. Now. How is that possible?" The Vorlak ships were already moving, turning to face the new threat. Supreme Commander Vorlak's voice came through the comm. "It seems our time for talking is over, humans. The enemy is here." Something changed in Taiho at that moment. The weeks of war, of death, of moral questioning suddenly crystallized into a clear purpose. "No," he said firmly. "Now is exactly when we need to talk, to work together. This is what you've been running from. Let's face it together instead." There was a long pause, then, "What do you suggest, Captain Kim?" Engineer Minji Kang worked frantically with Vorlak scientists, including Kito. They were modifying the Helios array, changing its purpose from a planet killer to something new. "If we can't destroy the Devourer conventionally," explained Minji, "we might be able to create a tear in space-time that would banish it to another dimension." "But the power requirement," said Kito. "I know," replied Minji grimly. "A fatal overload of our core. The Nemesis won't survive." On the bridge, Taiho made the announcement to his crew. "We all came out here ready to die to protect humanity from the Vorlak. Now we have the chance to save not just our people, but all people from something worse." He ordered the evacuation of non-essential personnel to the Vorlak ships. Most would go, but some had to stay to guide the Nemesis into position and trigger the modified Helios array. Admiral Ji-hye Park stepped forward. "I'll stay," she said. "I'll guide the ship in." "Ji-hye," began Taiho. "No arguments, Captain," she said with a small smile. "Most of our crew deserve to live. You deserve to live. Someone needs to stay, and it should be me." In the final hours, as the evacuation continued, the Devourer moved closer. They could see it clearly now, a vast darkness that seemed to consume the very fabric of space itself. It had already swallowed a gas giant at the system's edge. "It's time," said Ji-hye, now alone on the bridge of the Nemesis. Taiho and most of the crew watched from the Vorlak flagship. The enemies of yesterday, allies today. The Nemesis moved toward the Devourer, its engines pushing to maximum. The Helios array powered up, drawing energy from every system on the ship, building to levels far beyond safety limits. "This is for Earth," whispered Ji-hye as she engaged the weapon. The explosion was like nothing anyone had ever seen. Not just light and fire, but a tearing in the universe itself. The Devourer was caught in the maelstrom, pulled toward the rift that had opened before it. The combined human and Vorlak fleet watched as the Devourer's vast bulk was compressed and distorted, drawn inexorably into the rift. With a final flash of otherworldly energy, both the entity and the tear in space vanished. Where the Nemesis had been, there was nothing but scattered debris. Captain Taiho Kim ordered a moment of silence for Admiral Park and the brave crew members who had stayed behind. "The ship that was built to annihilate without mercy," he said quietly, "has saved us all through an act of supreme sacrifice." As the Vorlak began returning human prisoners to Earth ships, Taiho looked out at the stars. The war between humans and Vorlak had ended. A new alliance had begun, one forged in shared survival rather than mutual destruction, and somewhere in the vast emptiness between stars, debris from the UES Nemesis drifted silently, a monument to humanity's capacity for both terrible vengeance and ultimate redemption. Captain Juntae gripped the arms of his command chair as the ship shuddered around him. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Intrepid. This was not how humanity's first faster-than-light mission was supposed to go. "Engine status?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. Engineer Minho typed quickly at his console. The drive is overheating. We're going to drop out of hyperspace, sir. Where? June asked, leaning forward. Hana Kim, the chief science officer, shook her head. Her short black hair swayed with the movement. Unknown, Captain. We're far off course. The ship gave one final violent shake before everything went quiet. The view screen changed from the swirling colors of hyperspace to show a sea of stars. Systems check, ordered June. Weapons at 60%, reported Lieutenant Suk. Her fingers moved quickly over her tactical screen. Shields holding. Minho wiped sweat from his forehead. Engines need time to cool down, maybe 3 days before we can jump again. June nodded and stood up. He was tall for a Korean man with broad shoulders and a serious face. At 42, he was one of Earth's most experienced space captains. But this mission took them further than anyone had gone before. Hana, where are we? The science officer studied her readings with a frown. About 200 light years from Earth, but, Captain... She looked up, eyes wide. I'm picking up artificial structures nearby, massive ones. The bridge went silent. Show. Me? June said quietly. The main screen changed to show something that made everyone gasp. A huge space station floated before them. It looked like a metal wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. Around it flew hundreds of ships in neat formation. Those are alien vessels, whispered Suk. Multiple designs, different technologies. June's mind raced. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, but not in the way anyone had planned. Captain, called Minho from his station. We're being scanned. Raise shields, ordered June. But do not power weapons unless I command it. The alien ships had noticed them. Several broke from their formations and moved toward the Intrepid. They were sleek with designs humans had never imagined. They're surrounding us, said Suk. Her hand hovered near the weapons controls. Hold steady, June said firmly. First contact situation. We follow protocol. A soft beep came from Hana's console. Captain, they're sending some kind of signal, I think they're trying to communicate. Put it through. The screen flickered and showed an alien face. It had blue-gray skin, large black eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, the sounds were like nothing the humans had ever heard. The universal translator won't work, said Hana. We have no reference points. Send basic mathematical sequences, ordered June. Start building communication. For the next 6 hours, the bridge crew worked tirelessly. They exchanged simple signals with the aliens, building a basic understanding. Numbers first, then simple concepts. They call themselves the Galactic Confederation, Hana reported eventually. From what I understand, we've stumbled into some kind of important meeting. 17 different species are gathered here. June rubbed his tired eyes. And what do they think of us? They're confused, said Hana. They keep asking how we developed our drive technology without help. Minho looked up from his engineering station. That's odd. Our hyperspace drive is experimental, but the theory behind it isn't that complicated. Maybe for us, said Suk, quietly. What if different species think in different ways? A new message appeared on the screen. This time, the alien spoke in broken, computer-generated English. Human ship. You will stay here. Council will decide about you. The transmission ended. They've learned our language that quickly, asked Minho. Hana nodded. They must have powerful computers, and now they want us to wait while their leaders decide what to do with us. June stood up and straightened his dark blue uniform. It seems we don't have much choice, but I need more information. Suk, I want you to find a way onto that station. The tactical officer raised an eyebrow. Infiltrate an alien space station, sir. Just reconnaissance, said June. We need to know what we're dealing with. Take the small shuttle and use the sensor confusion during shift change to slip through. Their ships have been coming and going regularly. Yes, sir, Suk replied with a slight smile. She enjoyed challenges. 3 days passed. The Intrepid remained in its position, surrounded by alien vessels. Regular communications continued, but the humans learned little of substance. On the 4th, Suk returned with her report. It's incredible, Captain, she said as the senior officers gathered in the small meeting room. The station houses representatives from all 17 Confederation species. They have different biologies, different technologies, different ways of thinking. And what have you learned about their politics? Asked June. Sook's expression became serious. The Confederation claims to be peaceful, but there are tensions. I overheard arguments between several groups. Some species seem afraid of others. Did they discuss us? Asked Hana. Constantly, said Sook. We're the main topic. Some see us as a threat. Others are curious. Minho leaned forward. What about their technology? Advanced, but not as advanced as they first appeared, Sook replied. Their ships are impressive, but I noticed weaknesses in their designs. And while observing their engineering section, I downloaded some data. She placed a small device on the table. Their power systems are efficient, but our weapons might actually be stronger than theirs. June looked surprised. How is that possible? Different development paths, suggested Hana. From what I've gathered in our communications, most Confederation species were guided in their technological growth by older species. They followed established paths. While humans had to figure everything out ourselves, finished Minho. A chime sounded. Captain to the bridge, called a voice over the intercom. When they arrived, they found a large alien ship approaching. It was twice the size of the Intrepid, with a design like nothing they'd seen before. Message coming in, Captain, said the communications officer. The screen showed a new alien. This one had red scales and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. I am Ambassador Dole of the Security Council, it said in the same computer-generated voice. The Confederation has made its decision. Your ship will remain in quarantine until we determine if your species represents a threat. June stepped forward. Ambassador, we come in peace. We are explorers, not conquerors. All 4 of Dole's eyes blinked at once. Perhaps. But you developed faster than light travel independently. Your weapon systems are concerning. And your neural patterns show unusual adaptation rates. Neural patterns? Asked June, confused. Our scans show your species thinks differently than ours. You improvise in ways we do not. The alien paused. This makes you unpredictable. The Council requires time to evaluate. After the transmission ended, June turned to his officers. It seems we've made quite an impression. What do we do now, Captain? Asked Minho. June looked at the alien ship surrounding them. We cooperate, we learn, and we prepare. He turned to Sook. Keep gathering intelligence. I want to know everything about the Confederation. Yes, sir, she replied. And Minho, continued June, study that data Sook brought back. See if you can improve our systems. As his officers left to carry out their orders, June remained on the bridge, staring at the massive alien station. One human ship had accidentally entered this part of space, and already it was causing ripples through an entire galactic civilization. The adventure was just beginning. 3 weeks passed slowly on the Intrepid. Captain Juntae stood by the large window in his quarters, watching alien ships move around the massive space station. The quarantine continued, but at least they were allowed visitors now. Today, a team of alien scientists would board the Intrepid again. They had come every day for the past week, studying the humans with strange devices and asking countless questions. June's door chimed. Enter, he called. Chief Science Officer Hana Kim walked in holding a data pad. Captain, I've been studying the information we've gathered about the Confederation. There's something interesting. What is it? Their technology is very uniform, she said. Each species seems to follow the same development path. They all use similar power systems, similar weapons, similar shields. She looked up. It's as if they're following a script. June nodded slowly. And we're not. That must be why they find us so unsettling. Exactly. They keep asking how we developed hyperspace technology without guidance. The ship's intercom beeped. Captain, said Lieutenant Sook's voice. The alien science team is requesting permission to board. Grant it, replied June. I'll meet them in Science Lab too. When June arrived at the lab, the alien team was already setting up their equipment. 5 different species worked together smoothly, led by a tall, thin creature with pale green skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Captain Tay, it said in the computer-generated voice they all used. I am lead researcher Takrith of the Zal. Welcome back, said June politely. I hope your studies are going well. Takrith made a gesture that June had learned was similar to a nod. Indeed. Today we wish to conduct neural pattern tests on more of your crew. These tests had become routine. The aliens would scan the brains of human volunteers as they solved problems or answered questions. Of course, said June, my people will cooperate. As the tests began, June quietly moved to where Hana was observing. What are they really looking for? He whispered. Hana kept her eyes on her datapad. I think they're trying to understand how we think. Yesterday I managed to get a look at some of their results. She lowered her voice even more. Captain, they're scared of how quickly we adapt and improvise. Is that why they're keeping us here? Fear? Partly. But there's more. She glanced around to make sure none of the aliens were listening. I've been analyzing the data Sook gathered. The Confederation isn't as united as they want us to believe. There are factions, power struggles. June's communicator beeped. Captain, this is Minho. Could you come to engineering? There's something you should see. On my way, June replied. He nodded to Hana and left the lab. In engineering, Minho was working at his station, surrounded by new components that hadn't been there before. What's this? Asked June. Minho grinned. Improvements, Captain. I've been studying the alien technology from Sook's data. Their power systems are more efficient than ours, but they don't apply the energy in the same way. He pointed to a diagram on his screen. I've modified our shields using their principles. They're 30% stronger now, and I have ideas for the engines too. June looked impressed. Good work, but be careful what you show the aliens. I don't want them to know how quickly we're learning from them. Yes, sir. I've been keeping these projects hidden during their inspections. Later that day, June met with his senior officers in a secure room that Minho had confirmed was free of alien listening devices. Report, said June. Sook went first. I've continued my reconnaissance on the station. The Confederation claims to be at peace, but several species are clearly preparing for conflict. Which ones? Asked June. The Marites are the most obvious, said Sook. They're reptilian, aggressive. They control the most territory and have the largest fleet. But they're concerned about the Bellarans, who have better technology. And where do we fit in this picture? Sook's expression turned serious. We're a wild card, Captain. Some see us as a potential ally, others as a threat. But most importantly, they're all interested in our weapons. Our weapons? Asked Hana. Why? Because they're different, explained Minho. From what I've seen, Confederation weapons all work on similar principles, but ours took a completely different development path, which means they might not know how to defend against them, finished June. The meeting was interrupted by an alarm. Security breach, called a voice over the intercom. Unknown intruders in Cargo Bay 3. June and his officers rushed to the cargo bay. When they arrived, they found 4 security officers surrounding 3 alien figures. The aliens had red scales and bony ridges on their heads. Marites, whispered Sook. How did they get aboard? Demanded June. Some kind of stealth technology, replied the security chief. But our new sensors detected them anyway. One of the Marites stepped forward. I am War Commander Vexcal, it said through a translation device. We came to speak with you privately, away from the Council's ears. By sneaking onto my ship? Asked June coldly. It was necessary, replied Vexcal. The Council is not telling you everything. They fear your species. And you don't? The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. Oh, we do. But we also see opportunity. Your weapons, your way of thinking, they could be valuable to us. I see, said June. And what do you offer in return? Alliance, protection. Your ship is trapped here. We could help you return to your world. June considered the alien carefully. An interesting offer, but breaking the quarantine would create problems with the Council. The Council is weak, hissed Vexcal. Many species share this view. Changes are coming to the Confederation. You would be wise to choose the right allies. Before June could respond, the ship's communications officer called over the intercom. Captain, urgent message from Ambassador Dole. They've detected unauthorized Marite ships approaching our position. Vexcal made an angry sound. My escort was supposed to remain hidden. It seems they failed, said June. He turned to security. Escort our guests to the conference room. We'll continue our discussion there. To Sook, he whispered, alert status, quietly. Within minutes, the situation escalated. Ambassador Dole's massive ship approached the Intrepid, while 3 smaller Marite vessels took positions nearby. Transmission from Ambassador Dole, reported the communications officer. The red-scaled, 4-eyed alien appeared on screen, clearly agitated. Captain Tay, you have unauthorized Marite visitors aboard your vessel. This violates quarantine protocols. The situation is under control, Ambassador, replied June calmly. The Marites came uninvited, but we have detained them. This is exactly why we are concerned about your species, said Dole. You attract chaos. The Marites would never have attempted such a bold move before your arrival. Another transmission. Cut in. It was Vexcal, now back on his own ship. The humans have the right to hear all perspectives, not just Council propaganda. Dole's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. War Commander, you have violated multiple protocols. Return to your territory, immediately, or what? Challenged Vexcal. June watched the exchange with growing concern. The quarantine had just become much more complicated. Captain, said Minho quietly from his station, both sides are powering up weapons. Shields at maximum, ordered June. But keep our weapons cold. We're not taking sides in this conflict. As tension filled the bridge, June realized that humanity's entry into galactic politics had just begun. One human ship had appeared, and already the delicate balance of power was shifting. Whatever peace had existed before, it was clearly more fragile than the Confederation wanted to admit. And now, that peace was in danger of shattering completely. Word of the battle spread quickly through the Confederation. The Intrepid's victory over the Kresh Ravagers became the main topic at every meeting, in every ship, and on every world connected to the galactic network. Captain June Tay found himself suddenly in demand, where before he had struggled to get meetings with minor officials, now representatives from all 17 species requested private audiences. Another message, Captain, said Hana, entering June's office with a data pad. The Belleran Trade Guild wants to discuss mutual cooperation opportunities. June sighed and rubbed his tired eyes. Add them to the list. What does that make now? 12 different factions since yesterday, replied Hana. Everyone wants to talk to the humans who defeated the Ravagers. And learn about our weapons, added June. Hana nodded. That too. The dogger chimed and Lieutenant Sook entered. Her normally serious face looked troubled. Captain, we have a problem, she said. During my last surveillance mission, I discovered something concerning. Multiple factions have been mapping the star patterns visible from our ship. Why is that a problem? Asked June. Because with enough observations, they could calculate Earth's location, explained Hana, immediately understanding. Stars look different from different positions in space. By analyzing which stars we can see and how they appear from here, they could work out where Earth must be. June stood up quickly. How close are they to finding it? Too close, said Sook, grimly. The Zal science team has been collecting our star charts during their research, and I found evidence that both the Marites and Bellerans have been running their own calculations. So multiple groups now know where Earth is, said June, slowly. Or will soon. Yes, sir, replied Sook. And there's more. I've detected unusual activity among several Confederation fleets. Ships are being reassigned, weapon systems tested. It looks like preparation. For what? War, possibly. or at least major conflict. Sook hesitated. Captain, I believe our presence has accelerated existing tensions within the Confederation. June walked to the window of his office. Outside, the massive space station rotated slowly. It had been his home for nearly 2 months now. Get Minho, he said finally. We need a meeting. An hour later, June's senior officers gathered in the secure room. The situation has become critical, said June after Sook repeated her findings. If multiple factions know Earth's location, our world is in danger. Earth has no defenses against their technology, said Minho. Even with what we've learned here, we're still far behind in many areas. So what do we do? Asked Hana. June paced the room, thinking hard. We need time for Earth to prepare. He stopped suddenly. And there's only one way to get that. Time. We need to make them afraid to attack Earth. How? Asked Sook. With the oldest trick in warfare, replied June. Deception. The next day, June requested an emergency meeting with the full Confederation Council. Representatives from all 17 species gathered in the great circular chamber at the heart of the space station. June stood on the speaker's platform, facing rows of alien delegates. Ambassador Dole presided from a raised seat. Captain Tai, said Dole, you requested this session. The Council recognizes Earth's representative. June bowed slightly. Thank you, Ambassador. I come before this Council with important information. It has come to my attention that several factions have been working to determine Earth's location. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked uncomfortable, others defiant. This is concerning, continued June, because the Intrepid is not what many of you believe it to be. The room grew quiet. My ship was not sent as an explorer, said June firmly. It was sent as a scout. Ambassador Dole leaned forward. Explain, Captain. The Intrepid is the first of Earth's new deep space fleet, June said, his voice strong and clear. Our mission was to test our hyperspace drive and scout potential regions for human expansion. We were to report back on any civilizations we encountered. You claim there are more human ships? Asked a Belleran representative. The main fleet is still being prepared, replied June. Ships much larger and more advanced than the Intrepid. Our vessel is merely a scout model. The chamber erupted in worried conversation. June watched the reactions carefully. Some delegates seemed frightened, others skeptical. War Commander Vexikal stood from his seat. How many ships in this fleet? June smiled slightly. That information is classified. But I will say this. What you saw in the battle against the Ravagers was only a fraction of our capabilities. The Intrepid is a light scout vessel with limited weapons. This is very disturbing news, said Ambassador Dole, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. If what you say is true, it makes no difference, interrupted Vexikal. Even a fleet of ships like yours could not stand against the combined forces of the Confederation. Perhaps, agreed June. But would the Confederation truly unite against us? From what I've observed, you have your own conflicts to worry about. This caused another stir among the delegates. Many exchanged nervous glances. And consider this, continued June. Any attack on Earth would be met with full retaliation. Are you prepared to risk that? Especially when we offer friendship instead of war? After the meeting, June returned to the Intrepid where his officers waited anxiously. Did they believe you? Asked Hana. Some did, replied June. Others weren't sure, but that's enough for now. Doubt will make them cautious. And what about Earth? Asked Minho. They still don't. No, we're out here. That's our next problem to solve, said June. He turned to the engineer. Minho, is there any way we could send a message back to Earth? Using the Confederation's communication technology? Minho thought for a moment. Maybe. They have a system that uses quantum entanglement, much faster than our communications. If I could adapt our systems, do it, ordered June. Use whatever resources you need. For the next week, Minho worked day and night, studying the alien communication systems and building a prototype relay. Meanwhile, the political situation continued to evolve rapidly. The council is divided, reported Sook after her latest intelligence gathering. The Marites are pushing for immediate action against Earth, claiming your story about a fleet is a bluff. And the others? Asked June. The Bellerans want to establish trade relations. The Zal still want to study us. Most of the smaller species are staying neutral, waiting to see who gains the upper hand. Hana entered the room, her face showing concern. Captain, I've been monitoring Confederation communications. Several groups are preparing expeditions toward Earth. They're being careful, but the signs are clear. June frowned. They're calling my bluff. We need more time, said Minho, looking up from his work on the communication relay. I'm close to a breakthrough, but we need at least another week. June nodded slowly. Then we need to create a distraction. Something to make them hesitate. He turned to Sook. Lieutenant, I need your special skills again. The next day, Confederation security officers discovered dozens of small devices planted throughout the space station. They weren't bombs or weapons, just simple recording devices, but their presence caused panic among the delegates. How did these get here? Demanded Ambassador Dole during an emergency session. Who planted them? No one had answers, but many suspected the humans. June neither confirmed nor denied involvement, letting the mystery work to his advantage. The Council's focus shifted from Earth to their own security. The expeditions toward human space were delayed as resources were diverted to internal security. Meanwhile, in the engineering section of the Intrepid, Minho made his breakthrough. It works, he exclaimed, as June and Hana watched his test. We can send a compressed data burst through the relay. It won't be a clear signal, but it should reach Earth. June placed his hand on Minho's shoulder. Well done, my friend. Now we need to decide what message to send. As they worked on the message that would prepare Earth for what was coming, June knew that the galaxy had already changed. The arrival of one human ship had shattered the Confederation's careful balance of power, exposing the fractures that had always existed beneath the surface. Whatever happened next, peace, at least as the galaxy had known it, was gone forever. It's time to tell the crew the truth, said Captain Junte. The 4 senior officers of the Intrepid sat in June's private quarters. Outside, the massive Confederation space station continued its slow rotation against the backdrop of distant stars. Are you sure that's wise, Captain? Asked Sook. Her normally confident face showed rare concern. They deserve to know, replied June firmly. We've been stranded here for 3 months. The Confederation thinks we're the advanced scouts of a powerful human fleet. But the truth is, there is no fleet, finished Hana quietly. Just us. Minho nodded glumly. If any hostile faction reaches Earth, our world would be helpless against their technology. This harsh reality had been known only to the 4 of them. The rest of the crew believed they were simply waiting for diplomatic clearance to return home. Our message to Earth will take months to arrive, even using the quantum relay, said Minho. And we don't know if it will be clear enough to understand. June stood up and walked to the small window. Then we need a backup plan, a way to protect Earth until they can prepare defenses. How? Asked Hana. We're one ship against an entire galaxy. We use what makes humans different, said June, turning back to face them. Our unpredictability, our creativity. The next morning, June called. The entire crew together in the ship's main gathering space. 80 men and women stood at attention as he walked to the front of the room. You've all served with honor during our unexpected mission, began June. You've adapted to circumstances none of us could have imagined. Now I must ask even more of you. He explained the real situation, that Earth knew nothing of their discovery, that the Confederation believed them to be advanced scouts, and that several factions were planning expeditions toward human space. Our mission now is to protect Earth by any means necessary, said June. We may be just one ship, but we have advantages. The Confederation species think differently than we do. They follow patterns, expect certain behaviors. We don't have to. Crew listened in silence, taking in the gravity of their situation. Engineer Kang has modified our communication systems to send a warning to Earth, continued June. But we need to buy time for that message to arrive. We need to make the Confederation hesitate. A young officer raised her hand. How do we do that, sir? June smiled slightly. By being human. Over the next week, the crew of the Intrepid implemented June's plan. Minho worked with his engineering team to improve their ship's systems further, using everything they had learned from Confederation technology. Suk trained tactical teams in new combat methods that would confuse alien observers. Hana and her science department studied alien psychology, looking for weaknesses to exploit. Meanwhile, June continued his diplomatic meetings, carefully playing different factions against each other. When speaking with the Marites, he hinted at concerns about Belleran expansion. With the Bellerans, he mentioned Zal's scientific advancements that could shift the balance of power. You're creating confusion, observed Ambassador Dole during one meeting. All four of his eyes watched June carefully. Some say you are manipulating the council. I'm simply sharing perspectives, replied June innocently. Isn't open communication the foundation of your confederation? Dole's skin changed color slightly, a sign of irritation, June had learned. You speak of openness, yet you hide much about your own species, as do all the members of the Confederation, countered June. I've noticed that each species keeps certain technologies to themselves. True sharing seems rare here. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. Dole listened to something through his personal communication device, then looked at June with all four eyes wide. Your ship is transmitting a signal, he said accusingly. A powerful burst toward your home system. June kept his face neutral, though internally he cursed. Minho's transmission had been detected. Yes, he admitted. We are updating our government on our situation. That was always our right. The council will see this as a hostile act, said Dole. You were under quarantine. A quarantine with no clear end, said June, standing up. We've cooperated for months while you studied us. My people have a right to know what's happening. Back on the Intrepid, June found his officers waiting with tense expressions. They detected the transmission, said Minho apologetically. I tried to mask it, but their sensors are more sensitive than I thought. It's done now, said June. Did the message get through? I believe so, replied Minho. But I can't be certain. Captain, interrupted Suk. Confederation ships are moving into position around us. They've raised shields. June nodded grimly. So it begins. Battle stations, everyone. The crew hurried to their positions as the ship's alert system sounded. On the main screen, June could see 8 Confederation warships surrounding the Intrepid. They were a mix of designs from different species, the Marites, Bellerans, and others. They're hailing us, reported the communications officer. On screen, ordered June. Commander Zithal appeared. His long face looked serious. Captain Tay, by order of the Council, your ship is to power down all systems immediately. Your unauthorized transmission has been interpreted as a hostile act. We're simply communicating with our government, replied June calmly. A right guaranteed under Confederation law to all diplomatic vessels. You are not recognized as a diplomatic vessel, said Zithal. You are an unknown entity that poses a potential threat. Power down your systems now, or we will be forced to take action. The transmission ended. Options? Asked June, looking at his officers. We can't win against 8 warships, said Suk, but we can make a stand. I've finished the shield modifications, added Minho. They're stronger than before, but they won't last forever. June thought quickly. Hana, can we broadcast on all Confederation frequencies? The science officer nodded. Yes, Captain. Do it. I want every ship and station in the sector to hear what happens next. As Hana worked at her console, June turned to Minho. Prepare the engines for maximum output. We'll need a burst of speed. To Suk, he said, target their weapon systems. Only. No direct hits unless absolutely necessary. The Confederation ships moved closer, their weapons charged and ready. Broadcast ready, Captain, reported Hana. June straightened his uniform and faced the camera. Attention, all Confederation, vessels and outposts. This is Captain Junte of Earth. We came to your galaxy in peace, but you respond with threats. If you attack us, you will be declaring war not just on this ship, but on all humanity. He paused, then continued. I urge you to reconsider. Our species does not seek conflict, but we will defend ourselves. The choice is yours. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then Zithal's ship fired the first shot. What followed was unlike any battle in Confederation history. The Intrepid moved in ways the alien ships couldn't predict, targeting systems that confused their commanders. When 3 ships coordinated their fire, the human vessel somehow slipped between their beams, causing 2 shots to hit Allied vessels. On his ship, Commander Zithal watched in frustration as the single human vessel outmaneuvered his entire force. They fight like no species I've ever seen, exclaimed his tactical officer. Their movements make no sense, agreed another. They break all established combat protocols. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Park had discovered something important. Captain, she called to June, their communications are unencrypted. We can hear everything they're saying to each other, and so can everyone else in the sector who's listening to this broadcast. June smiled grimly. Perfect. Keep our channel open. The entire sector heard the Confederation commanders argue among themselves, revealing their fears and assumptions about humans. They heard accusations between species and mentions of hidden agendas. On the Confederation station, Ambassador Dole listened with growing horror. The broadcasted communications were destroying years of careful diplomacy. He quickly called for an emergency session of the full council. After 30 minutes of intense fighting, the Intrepid had survived, though its shields were failing and multiple systems were damaged. But the Confederation fleet was in disarray, with ships accidentally firing on allies and commanders arguing over strategy. Then a new transmission came through. All vessels, cease fire immediately. It was Ambassador Dole speaking with the full authority of the Council. This conflict is unauthorized and must end now. Slowly, the weapons fell silent. The human ship, battered but undefeated, held position among the Confederation vessels. 2 days later, Captain Junte once again stood before the full Confederation Council. This time the mood was different. The actions taken against your vessel were not authorized by this council, said Dole formally. Those responsible have been disciplined. June nodded in acknowledgement. Furthermore, continued Dole, after much deliberation, we have decided to end your quarantine. Your ship is free to return to Earth, accompanied by Confederation representatives to establish formal diplomatic relations. The chamber buzzed with conversation at this announcement. Thank you, Ambassador, replied June. Humanity looks forward to peaceful cooperation with the Confederation. As he left the chamber, Ambassador Dole fell into step beside him. You know, said the 4-eyed alien quietly, one human ship appeared, and our galaxy will never know the same